Wow, really? All black? Simone murmurs, as she turns in front of the mirror. The final dress Brandy settled on is a sleeveless black turtleneck that has a chest window and has no back covering to speak of, outside the neck and below her hips. The fabric itself resembles a pitch-dark void, but as light hits it, there's a revealed pattern of reflexive red hexagons. Absolutely. It shows off the shape of your body while also giving all the more attention to the parts exposed, Brandy replies, messing with the back of Simone's neck to smooth out the fabric. Showing off the shape of a truck, maybe. At least in high school Simone begins to say, before Brandy starts to turn it to the side further. You don't do ungodly amounts of squats to not show off that chiseled booty, the shorter of the two women pointed out. And I think Chuck is going to love it. Yeah, you're not wrong there, Simone chuckled, as she adjusted the long and loose, yet leg-conforming skirt. Still not wearing heels, though. Oh, come on. It will really pull the look together, Brandy pleads. Maybe, but I will be a toppling hazard the whole night. I already don't really dance. I think the last thing I need is to follow my fragile fiancé, the redhead turns down. Fine. We'll go with your pick of dance shoes, but I'm going to buy you a pair of heels to practice in for the next time you two do something like this. Your credits, Simone agrees with a shrug, before finding the secret dress pockets that almost went deeper than her favourite pair of cargo pants. Yup, and now that we got all this sorted, we should do something with that wild head of yours, Brandy says, as she's already messing with Simone's head fur. Rolling her eyes, the redhead sighs in disapproving huff. It's already short, she whines. I meant get it styled, you crybaby. Though, we can get it shorter. I'm curious to see how you look with bangs. Chuck leans forward in front of her and Simone's personal apartment bathroom mirror. Holding her kite in Dremel, she carefully re-rounded the tips of her horns while keeping their longer length. Thankfully, Simone's eyes haven't been poked out yet, and head-kissing was always a cautious venture anyway. After meticulously ensuring that the horn symmetry is spot on, she then moves to her claws. Although not exactly sharp by any means, she gives them all the same rounding off treatment. Something she didn't think to do before starting a relationship with Simone. She then reaches up to her head fur, taking note of how long it has grown since she walked into that Deathworlder bar, which drifts her mind back to how she was in general back in those times. It wasn't so long ago, but to her it feels like a lifetime has passed. The princess still recognizes herself in the person she sees. However, the person she once was is almost alien in her mind. Stepping into that bar was the bravest thing she had done at that point, and it's incredibly hard to imagine that hopeless runaway doing half the things she would come to do. The woman standing there now is capable. Someone who she can actually see helping guide her people into a better future. The how is still up in the air, but she can proudly say now is that the runaway princess isn't running or hiding anymore. She's charging, right into the fray, which she fully intends to proclaim with her presence here, in the very heart of Central itself. A lower limb then reaches up to mess with her head fur bangs. Despite genuinely wanting this day out with her favourite person, there's an alternative benefit outside her own happiness. Chuck wants to make a public statement of not only her appearance out in the open, but to confirm who she intends to spend the rest of her days with. A Terran. A wonderful, kind, beautiful, strong, miraculous Terran. And the galaxy will see that and just maybe spark discussions regarding an array of topics. One, for example, is that Terrans are more than instruments bathed in war. They are capable of being gentle and loving. A Cali princess to win one piece after being in the intimate presence of such a mighty individual will alone speak volumes. Activating her lens, Chuck schedules an appointment at a Watar phone service. Thankfully, they immediately accept taking in a Cali, although they request an early walk-in to confirm that this isn't a prank of sorts. She decides that now is the perfect time to fully embrace herself and what she wants, to clat with anyone who judges her. As she walks out of her room and out to the central space, she glances over to the middle couch where Troy is laughing, while Miki plays a vehicle racing game. Miki, Nordrin sighs, as their bondmate's vehicle collides into a barrage of incoming racers. The following explosions of fire and scrap consume all the feed. Can't lose race when all competitors dead, Miki deviously cackles in a chair. Troy tries to respond with words, but his barking laughter tightens into rasping gasps. A tear rolls down his face as he collapses off the couch, clutching his gut. Seeing that their day is starting off very well, Chuck continues to approach Thorn. The older Terran is messing with a small laser tool, seeming to be using it to work maintenance on his exposed mechanical arm. There's the face of someone about to ask a favour, Thorn comments, without even looking up at the Callie. Indeed. If you or Devon wouldn't mind, I could use an escort to a nearby business I have an appointment for. I'd go by myself, but I figured that would prove a bit reckless, Chuck replies with a small bounce. Sure thing, little missy. Give me a minute to finish up with this and I'll walk you over. Thorn nodded, as he put more focus into his work. Thank you, Chuck says, before tilting ahead of the arm. If it's not too much of a bother, mind I ask what you're doing? Just turning up this arm's reaction time. It's been slacking by 0.05 or so%. Not the worst thing ever, but it could really make the difference when lives are on the line. No need risking it, he answers. Oh, I see. Must be, beneficial to be able to so precisely monitor your capability. Thorn released a single amused hum. You bet it is, but the trade-off is a hell of a lot of maintenance. Superficial shit like this is simple enough, but let's just say I'm lucky as hell to have Devon on the team. Kid's a whiz, Thorn says, before he deactivates his tool and closes up the small open panels in his arm, giving it a quick full range of motion test. Alrighty then, let's go. The trip is short, especially with a brief shuttle ride. As the Terran and Callie walk down a stretch of walkway along entrances of local businesses, the princess decides to calm her nervous anticipation by starting a conversation. I truly hope you and your crew know I forgive the circumstances we initially met under. Tell me, was the job actually about my bounty, or was it to possibly reunite with Simone? She asks, genuinely curious. Both. Turn you in would have given us all early retirements, but that depended on Simone. She called you her people, a term that we use in the business to mean, this bounty is off limits because they are personally tied to me. Usually that refers to other business that the bounty is needed for first, or if it's family and friends who you're defending while trying to clear the bounty in other ways. She seemed to be saying it in earnest and looked like her life was on the upturn, so we let you be, he answers with a shrug. I appreciate that, and everything you have done for us since, Chuck says. Well, perspective helped that along. Considering what's at stake with what you're involved in, I'd say any bounty is worthless at this point, the man points out. Besides, Simone was a deeply sad person when we picked her up, and even sadder when we had to let her go. Just a mess. She was always the person she is, but that just made watching what she was putting herself through all the harder. We really tried to get her help, but, well, I suppose you were the medicine she needed. There might be a bit of truth in that to some degree, but from the sounds of it, the Simone I first met helped herself out of the darkest place. She has the strongest will I've ever seen. I'm frankly quite surprised I managed to have won her over in the end. She was very hesitant to have a relationship in the first place because she was scared that she'd hurt me in some way. Regardless, I'm glad she started to trust herself in the way that I trust her, Chuck says, with a small smile, before stopping in front of an establishment. Thorn almost passes her before tilting his cyan eye up to the business again. This is where you have an appointment? He asks, between impressed and skeptical. They've already agreed to provide service. Besides, kiting is kiting. I trust that they are experts in their profession. Well, hey, why not? Thorn chuckles, as he walks up and escorts the princess in. Our tough male, covered in intricate coloured patterns, turns to greet them, and only hisses in amusing surprise to actually see a Callie willingly stride into a place like this. Welcome to Zek's establishments, he says, as he moves up to the two, still clearly expecting this to be a prank or misunderstanding of some fashion. I presume you are the Callie that made the appointment. Forgive me if I'm mistaken, but you're that princess, correct? Did I read the name you submitted correctly? Chocolate Motas? Another more senior Wataf male came out from a back door, overhearing the stated-spoken words. Yes, that is correct. Thank you very much for seeing me on such short notice. I hope I'm not disrupting business, Chuck replies pleasantly. Of course not, the older male cuts in, more concerned than his younger employee. Just to be clear, princess, you do understand what we do here. You'll be subjecting yourself to an experience we normally tailor for more robust species. I've read about the process extensively and understand that it may prove uncomfortable, if not a little painful for someone like me. But if you are confident in your craft, I trust in your professionalism, on whether it will cause me harm. Am I the first Callie you have serviced? Chuck replies, passing up the Terran to address the venomous Deathworders face to face. Yet another thing that the two didn't quite believe to see. We are confident that it won't cause any harm, and none of the compounds we use are toxic to Callie, but you are the first Callie to intentionally walk in here requesting our services. We've had curious inquiries in the past, but nothing ever this present and willing. Have you had the chance to look through our waiver? Chuck bounces and activates her lens. Read and signed. Sending it now, she notifies in cheery chirps. The younger nods, but the older tilts his head, still dubious. Hold on. Have you had any significant amounts of coal nectar today? He questions. I hope I'm not coming across as inebriated. No, sir. I haven't had any amount for a little while now. Though perhaps if you sold some before servicing, I think Kelly might be more open to what you offer. Chuck giggles. But I suppose I understand your hesitancy. This must be rather unusual. I promise I am of sober mind and have educated myself on everything your lovely business provides. I have amassed the reference material I'd like done, if that will convince you. And yes, as stated in your waiver, I understand that this is permanent without a specific removal process. Seemingly having no more questions to ask for validating his skepticism, the older Wataf nods. Alright, Shiel, how about you set up the back room for our patron? He directs. Of course, Shiel agrees, skittering back. I am Zix, the older properly introduced. I'll be the artist deep diving your chitin today. May I see what your references are? Certainly, Chuck agrees before sending the file. With his own lens, Zix takes a moment to look over what the princess had in mind. Meanwhile, Thor nudges the side of the Callie. You sure you don't want to share this moment with your lady? I'm honored to be present for it, but I think you want to hold her hand through it. I want it to be a bit of a surprise for our outing, and if I end up liking it as much as I suspect I will, I'll certainly be taking her on future trips, Chuck explains. Well, alright, Thorn shrugs. These shouldn't take more than an hour. If you're ready, we can begin right now, Zeke notifies. Perfect, Chuck chirps. Oh, and the other thing I requested to be done, will that add to that time? My apprentice will be handling that while I dye your chitin. So no. Princess, we pride ourselves on customer privacy, so we completely understand if you decline. But maybe we'll record your session for advertising footage. We'll grant a 50% discount and, of course, obscure your identity, the older Wataf asks. Chuck's eyes flash and she bounces in place at the prospect. Oh? To encourage more Kelly to consider your business? That's a wonderful idea. In fact, don't bother obscuring me. I'll openly endorse you, Chuck counter-offers. Stunned for a moment, the Wataf nods, not daring to risk such an incredible opportunity. We would be forever grateful. Your Terran bodyguard is welcome to watch over as we work. Right this way. Excellent, Chuck says, before following into the back room where a single reclining cushioned platform awaits. Along the walls are shelves and workstations. A drone comes alive from the corner and hovers high up to record everything that occurs, getting the best angles for commercial use. Please undress your torso and lay face up on the seat. Keep in mind that you will be turning over during the session. Your bodyguard can rest on the back corner seat, Zeke instructs. Complying promptly, Chuck removed her torso clothes and peeled down her power suit to fully expose her shoulder and back fur, along with her chest plate of extra thick chitin. Wandering up, she lifts herself up and gets comfortable on the seatbed. Thank you, Princess. First, I'll be matching your chitin color and applying a micro amount so that you'd know what to expect. It may be a little painful, but I assure you it is fleeting and causes no harm, the artist informed. I understand, Chuck responds, feeling her hearts racing each other, although a bit of fear is seeping in. No thought of turning back enters her mind. For your safety, we will need you to try your best to not jolt or pull away. Perhaps you would like some complimentary crude nectar to help remain calm. We have a distilled brew currently available, the artist offers, as the younger male comes up and places a small glass filled with a familiar green liquid. That's absolutely lovely of you, thank you, Chuck replies, rather surprised that her earlier suggestion has become a reality so fast. Though she thinks on it more, Wataf are known to enjoy it as a casual beverage as well. Reaching over, Chuck takes the glass and downs the brew quickly without leaving a single drop. After a few moments, he sees the artist pulling up a device with a fresh small canister attached to it. Alright, here comes a taste of what to expect, he notifies. The tool then carefully approaches the princess's thinner chitin beneath her chest plate, and before contact she closes her eyes to brace. It's a sting that causes her hooves to kick a bit, but as promised the sensation is gone just as quickly as it arrives. Oh, that was certainly surprising, but I believe I can handle it without issue, Chuck reports. It's just like a static shock, she notifies for the drone. Looking just as relieved that the Royal Callie didn't freak out, the older Wataf then switched out the canisters and prepped the machine to use a different color. I'm now sending you the final design and what it may look like on your body for your approval. If there's something that you don't like or want tweaked, we can hash that out, no problem. Chuck checks her lens and looks over the 3D model of a Callie form sent to her. You truly are a master of your craft. This is perfect, Chuck earnestly says with a smile. You humble me, princess. Are you ready? Zeeks replies as he lifts the tool up again. Absolutely. It takes getting used to, but before the princess has to turn over for the artist to continue applying the deep dye to her back, she's no longer twitching for the persistent stinging. Getting herself comfortable again, as the seat slowly reclines to a vertical level, she feels other Wataf graspers start touching and separating her head fur. Then she feels something being applied via what comes across as a wet brush. Closing her eyes and resting her head on her crossed arms, she winces slightly as the artist continues his work. You seem to be a very brave individual, princess. I'm thankful for the opportunity and experience of working on a Callie, Zex comments in a focused hiss. I've learned a lot while traversing the galaxy. Honestly, I believe my people would be far less wary of intimidating species if they travel more. Although there are many things to fear, there is a valuable perspective to be gained from interacting with others unlike ourselves. Although we have a strong instincts to contend with, we can rise above them with exposure and the right mindset, she replies. Still, I've met quite a few Callie in my time here. None have expressed your level of comfort towards me or my species for that matter. Our venomous reputation tends to do that in general. The artist chuckles in a hiss. You know what's interesting? I'm technically a member of a Wataf family. Well, I will be once I marry my fiancé. The pinching sensation pauses for a moment before resuming. How does that work? He asks. Oh, I'm a co-guardian of an adopted Wataf child. It's a long story, but my fiancé was chosen to raise the child by the mother, and the mother's brothers are now considered a form of family to my fiancé, and by extension myself. Here's pictures of us with little SJ, Chuck says, as she sends the artist several images taken of the Watafling. Care not to send any, including Jamie. They are very artistically minded as well. I can see that. I suppose that explains quite a bit. Such a strange life you must live, princess. There's certainly much hardship I've faced to get to this point. But you're right, it's a strange life. And oh so wonderful. Enjoying the sensation actually becomes oddly meditative after a while. And when it stops, she's almost disappointed. Of course, the excitement of seeing the completed result overrules that possibility. All done. Let me know how it looks, Zex says, as part of the back wall rotates to reveal an angled room of mirrors. I can't wait. Should I expect any pain or soreness? Chuck asks as she gets off the seat and hurries to get a full view of herself. It's not expected, as the dye should only affect your middle and outer layers of your chitin. But in the case that you do feel continued discomfort, we recommend seeing a medical professional, as that may indicate other health issues. Ziggs replies, as he watches the drone follow the princess, getting her elated reactions, as she turns and peeks in front of the mirrors. It's everything she wants, and the artistry is absolutely sublime. Her eyes graze slightly before flickering with light of joy. I love this so much. Thank you, Ziggs, and you, Shiel. It's all so perfect. It's our pleasure, princess. It has been an honor to have you as a patron. Please, if you wish, feel free to say anything you'd like to any other potentially interested Callie who are wary of our business, says the Ottawataf. Almost too overwhelmed to say anything at all, Chuck turns to the drone. This is Chakalactomotaz, and this is my favorite dye parlor on the CSH. Simone feels a shiver roll up her back as she waits for her date nervously at a shuttle station. Brandy said she looks great, but it's such a different look for the redhead that she wasn't sure if Chuck would like it. What was she thinking? Of course her fiancé will like it, and even if she doesn't, so what? Head fur grows back out anyway. Her hand reaches up to touch it, but she corrects herself, not wanting to mess up what the stylist did. Just so her hands have something to do, they brush out the black dress free from non-existent wrinkles for the millionth time. It then hits her that this is the first proper date. Besides the one that many people have for prom, that is. And if she doesn't include the first outing with Chuck on Convoy Station as well, hopefully this outing doesn't end as violently. Simone? Chuck's voice spoke up from behind her. Chuck almost doesn't recognize her Terran if it wasn't for her scarred and impressive musculature. But as the redhead turns to look at the approaching princess, the Callie sees those wonderfully beautiful emerald eyes. But now they peek just under red bangs. Simone's new styled head fur was shortened around the sides and back of her head, with a top body with substantially more length, all aiming forward towards her face. To Chuck, it almost looks reminiscent of how her head fur looks naturally, at least in the bangs department. But then the travelling gaze looks over the rest of the Terran with immense eye-glowing approval. Likewise, Simone sees Chuck in a loosely flowing drapery of silvery Kali garb, which of course is incredibly gorgeous. But what catches most of her attention is that there's a streak of Simone red through the Kali's head fur. Did you dye your fur? Simone utters, as she reaches out to take Chuck's hands into hers. You like it? I thought since we're really pushing ahead in our endeavours, I thought I'd make changes that I want without a care for what others think, Chuck explains. I adore your fur, and your dress, and... The Kali's voice trails off as she notices the necklace around Simone's neck. A gunmetal chain holding up a red and black swirled gemstone. Adjusting the silky wrapping around her neck, she reveals her own emerald greenstone necklace. We had the same thought, Chuck chirps softly in a giggle. Pulling her in, Simone gently embraces her fiancé. I love you, Simone whispers in a soft chuckle. And I love you too, Chuck whispers back, before squeezing to confirm that she is still wearing her power suit under her fancy clothes. To this, Simone gave her a much more fitting bear hug before lifting the princess up in a playful spin. Ready for our first real date, princess? Simone says with a wink. Absolutely. Careful though. Keep acting this wonderful, I'll almost want to skip to the ending, Chuck teases, before slowly laying on a Terran-style kiss. She doesn't receive the same happy brain signals from what feels like pretending to eat each other's faces as Simone seems to, but seeing the red hair swim in intense, pleasurable feelings certainly makes it worth it. Pulling away, not caring about the horrified looks a few of the people around give them, Chuck taps Simone's nose with a lower limb. I have reserved a place for us at a restaurant where they play live music and dance. The shuttle coming for us will take us there. Then, after we eat, we'll have a long walk for a shopping strip where I'm definitely going to buy you something. And then we are going to rest for a little while in a park at the end of the strip, where we can enjoy the smells of nature and decompress. And finally, you're going to carry me up into our penthouse hotel room, where I'm going to show you just how much I appreciate and love you. Whatever you want. How does all that sound? Anything you'd like to add? She lays out with a tender tone of voice. Flushed with a red that rivals her hair, Simone nods with a sheepish grin. And if you keep acting like that, people are going to start thinking you're my sugar mama, she jests, in complete flustering. This isn't about what others think, sweetest heart, but you did spill to everyone listening to that conspiracy podcast that I'm a top. So it's not like the galaxy isn't privy to new information, Chuck grins, before kissing the Terran again. Miss, is this Terran... are these acts voluntary? Or do I need to contact the authorities for you? A Zermf with a shaky voice inquires. Simone rolls her eyes a bit, peeved that their moment was intruded on. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought the Kali were free and that I could just take one, she says, in an overly sarcastic tone. No, that's true. We're free to have once you have us in your grasp. That's just how it works. Oh well, I suppose my life before now was fulfilled enough. I'll miss my family though, Chuck replies in an overly dramatic tone, fighting the urge to giggle. But can you take me in that shuttle dropping down? Descending down near where they stand, a personal deluxe shuttle lands and opens up for the couple to climb in. Sure, wow, a free Kali, that's pretty sweet, Simone laughs, as she turns and helps Chuck into the extraordinarily extra comfortable seating before sitting up against her. With a confirmation, the shuttle seals back up and takes off. The Zerm, still standing in his place, stared blankly as he watched it fly away. Then he looked down and scuffed his foot against the floor shamefully. And no would have sufficed, he mumbles in an embarrassed, sad tone. Back in the shuttle, the Kali is sitting over the Terran's lap, resuming their interrupted makeout session. Wow, you're riled up, Simone breathes, without an ounce of complaint. I may have had some concentrated cold nectar earlier. It hasn't worn off quite yet, Chuck admits. Kali's pre-game too, huh? The redhead jokes, as her hands massage the princess's thighs and rear. Her eyes traverse the interior of the shuttle, planning out theoretical naughty positions that could work. So, how long is this ride again? She asks suggestively. Chuck's eyes widen and flash. Oh, about 15 standard minutes? But we should really hold off until later tonight. Save ourselves for that moment. That's how these dates properly go, right? You're also going to get sweaty, and I don't want you to be uncomfortable during dinner and shopping. The Kali justifies the reason not to. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. We're grown, mature adults who can hold off until it's appropriate, Simone agrees. The shuttle, with completely steamed up windows, complete with evidential swiping of Terran and Cali grasper prints, lands in the restaurant entrance lot. The auto-opening door partially opens before there is a panicked yelp. Wait, wait, wait! A hushing Terran voices out before the door is still shut again. After a few moments, when the shuttle starts to encourage the passengers to exit so they can move to its next location, the doors start to open again. A bit dishevelled, the two step out, manically trying to straighten out their garb and head fur. I can't believe we just did that, Chad whispers, in a mix of panic and thrill. Yeah, so much for holding off, and now I'm all sweaty and shit, Simone replies, as the two near the entrance. I told you that was going to happen, Chuck reminds in a snigger. Well, excuse me, Princess, you're the one with adventuring hands, Simone accuses. Only because you're up against my... Oh, hello, Chuck corrects, as she takes notice of the greeter. We have a reservation. The white and pink-furred Wister, standing at 8 feet, slowly looked between the two women, with her big purple eyes in concern. Are you feeling well, Terran? You appear positively ill, she asks. No, I'm fine. I just, Simone replied, trying to think of an excuse. Unfortunately, the temperature controls in our shuttle were busted, and it got real damn hot on the way over. Do you guys have a restroom or lavatory I could use to freshen up a bit? I'm sorry to hear about that unfortunate turn of events. Yes, we have facilities that you can utilize. Simply look at your lens map and the locations will become apparent, the greeter confirms, before lumbering to turn to Jack. What name is your reservation under? Chakalatamotaz, Nikali answers in a pleasant chirp. The Wister's ring irises expand in realization. Oh, Princess, of course. I should have recognized you immediately. I didn't know your fur had two colors. The greeter apologizes, as she slowly steps aside to fully permit access. Your table is ready for you. I'll summon a waiter to take you. Oh, thank you very much, Chad chirps, as she takes the lead with the Terran close behind. Entering the dimly lit restaurant, the two see that the space is wide, with softly glowing tables patterned all throughout, and around a central circular section meant for dancing. Up against the back wall is a slightly elevated stage, where a band plays live with a mix of traditional and hard-light instruments. Despite the almost club-like atmosphere in a Terran context, Simone takes note of the gentle music and relaxed demeanours of everyone in attendance. Even those dancing are doing so in casual sways and romantic bonding. Greetings, Princess, an especially well-groomed Norfolk server says as he approaches. Right this way. The two women are led away towards the back corner, where a slightly fenced-off private table awaited. Clocking it, Simone taps on Jack's shoulder. I'll be right back, she notifies, before hurrying off to the promised facilities. Don't start another adventure without me, Chuck teases, as she continues towards the table. Wouldn't dream of it, Simone replies, in a tone that takes Chuck by surprise. It almost sounded like the Terran was nervous, scared even. Did she already spot trouble? Oh no, the princess worries. But trusting her fiancé, she allows the Norfolk to take her to the table, and sits down. Shall I wait for your bodyguard before you order, Princess? He asked. Yes, and she's my betrothed. I expect her to be treated as such, please, Chuck politely corrected, to the Norfolk's horror. However, to the man's credit, he kept his composure and professionalism ironclad. Of course, Princess. I shall return with water and then take orders when you are reunited. But please, explore our menu for anything you may enjoy. The green highlighted items are safe for Cali consumption, he dismisses. Oh, I will, thank you, Chuck nods, as she presses the menu indicator which scrolls up a hard-light selection menu. She finds what she'd like rather quickly, but of course is determined to wait. And wait she does, for far longer than she is comfortable. Checking the time, she sends Simone a third message asking if everything is alright. Her imagination is already fearing the worst. What if she was taken again? What if she's combating more assassins at this very moment? Chuck stands up from the table to go looking for her Terran, dire concern fueling her twin hearts. But just as she does so, the current music comes to a close and the in-house Ronani vocalist steps up to the voice amplifier. Thank you, and now a special performance brought you, all in part, by Princess Chocolate Motaz, she softly proclaims. Walking up and around to get a full view of the stage will leave her confusion flood her mind seeing Simone standing there. Although the redhead is much more put together, fresh sweat leaks from her hair, as nerves seem to be taking hold. Yet as soon as Simone sees the princess as well, she smiles, and gives her an apologetic wink. Please enjoy the singing of Simone Thatch in an original piece, Forevermore. the Ronani says before fully granting the Terran the floor. Many of the pleasantly curious restaurant's patrons grant the big scary Terran a polite welcome with soft vocalizations and grasper sounds. Silence follows before the band starts to play, slightly more energetic than usual music. Thankfully, the mellow dancers don't seem to mind all too much as they adjust. The chord progression and melody being played are very common in older Terran music, but it's clear from the activated lenses of the band members that this is nothing they've really attempted before. With a final inhale, Simone sings into the mic. Although the complexity of the lyric writing is not quite professional, Chuck has never heard Simone sing so well. She has a lovely rustic singing voice that favoured Terran folk music, but the redhead is now performing genuinely in almost perfect key, while still playing to her vocalization strengths. Someone has been secretly practicing. You caught my eye from across the room, and I knew right then you were my muse. Your eyes lit up the darkest of nights, and I knew right then you were worth the fight. I'm falling with every beat of my heart. I'll follow you anywhere, never dream of being apart. You're the missing piece I've been searching for. Together we'll make magic forevermore. Your laugh, your touch, they make me feel alive. I'm drawn to you like air to a flame. I'll be your shelter, your rock, your guide. We'll take on the universe and no longer hide. I'm falling with every beat of my heart. I'll follow you anywhere, never dream of being apart. You're the missing piece I've been searching for. Together we'll make magic forevermore. Our love is a masterpiece every moment from the start. We'll paint the town red till one day I'll depart. We'll write our own story, a tale to be told. I may, but our love will never grow old. I'm falling with every beat of my heart. I'll follow you anywhere, never dream of being apart. You're the missing piece I've been searching for. Together we'll make magic forevermore. During the performance, Chuck maintains eye contact with the Terran as she walks through the crowded dance floor, drawing closer and closer. By the final sung words, they are not even a foot apart. Moving around the voice amplifier, Simone doesn't say any form of farewell. Instead, she takes the princess into her arms. There is a wide general approval of the comparatively short musical piece, though the sight of the Kali princess being handled in such a way by a Terran does send a ripple of concern. Before long, more music begins to play, and the two find themselves dancing closely in an embrace, like slightly awkward Terran teens at prom. That's my favourite song, Chuck whispers, as she rests her head on Simone's pounding chest. But I wrote it just a few months ago, Simone replies, realising she might have accidentally rewritten an already established song. I know,